Hello and welcome to This Is. Throw out your PC because it's obsolete. Get your Xbox and chuck it.
Oh!
Take your PS5 and hurl it.
No!
Apple, yes, Apple, that Apple. The same one that you hate has just revolutionized gaming.
But Matt, Apple sucks. I would rather have a rock than anything Apple.
What Apple has shown us with the gaming port toolkit, we need to be talking about this way more. It is a massive game changer for gaming.
So they announced it last week at WWDC, and I think the next day you had it up and running on your MacBook.
Okay, I want to preface, I have zero coding experience. I'm not a developer, except when it comes to
Android specifically, which you are a genius with. Okay, got it.
I had this gaming toolkit up and running within 24 hours of WWDC ending. The results are shockingly good.
To those who are not plugged into 9 to 5 Mac 24/7, what is the gaming porting tool? Porting toolkit.
So this is meant for developers. There's no UI to it. There's no GUI. You have to just be in Xcode beta, the newest version of that. You download a couple libraries, and it's essentially a wineskin. It's like Proton for Mac,
which is of course what the Steam Deck, for
yes.
example, uses to run Windows games on Linux, aka Steam OS.
It took like 45 minutes to download stuff, but like actual me doing stuff, it was like 10 minutes. I was able to get Steam up and running, so the Windows version of Steam specifically.
Because of course Mac OS Steam exists.
Yeah,
but
right. The one that I had the most success with was Battle.net. I had Diablo 4 up and running.
Okay. For context, you're using a 14-inch M1 Max MacBook Pro, right?
Yes, with 32 gigs of RAM, which is obviously the unified memory. Couple things to take away. One, I was playing at about 1700p. So that's just shy of 4K, and I was at that 1700p ultra settings, running at 45 to 60 FPS.
Wow. So if you think about the way this is working on the back end, you've got a Windows game which thinks it's running on Windows, then it is running through Wine for compatibility, and I assume it's got some Rosetta running through there as well. So essentially, you've got multiple layers of translations happening in real time to make this game work. And of course, it's running on a 14-inch MacBook, which, while is a very powerful machine, if you look at the raw numbers, is not like some RTX 4090 laptop, right? It's a 14-inch, relatively thin, relatively light laptop.
And so when I say this is changing gaming, it's not because it's like, oh, you're going to get like these crazy levels of settings. Here's the thing. The MacBook didn't get that hot.
I'm sure the fans
spun up, but it's not burning me. Name me another laptop as thin and light as a MacBook who can run anywhere near this. This is where it's a little weird. And again, I want to preface that this is a beta.
Yeah.
I found that turning down settings had very little effect on anything.
Oh, there's a bottleneck then. It's probably CPU bottleneck with Rosetta or something, right?
So I actually think that the actual translation layer kind of caps you, and I believe that Linus mentioned something similar in his thing. So where I was testing this, I had it docked, so I hadn't actually tested it on just the MacBook itself.
Would you say it is stable? Is it
absolutely?
So it's a beta and there's all these layers and stuff, but it's working.
So the games that work seem to work really well, and then the games that don't work just don't work.
Okay. Obviously, you need the Windows versions of these launchers. I'm sure a lot of anti-cheat wouldn't work.
Like Halo will not work. You can install it, you can launch it, but you can't get anywhere past it because of the anti-cheat.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, the Steam Deck running Proton has these same issues.
Yeah, of course.
So that's not an issue with the Mac side of this.
Okay, can you walk me through what happens, right? So
you install it literally the same exact way.
Download an exe for Windows. You just install it. Can I just launch that .exe or .msi, or is that what the terminal is for to actually install things?
Yes and no. So again, there's no GUI right now. So right now, you need to run a line of code in order to actually launch. Now you can very easily use Automator to make your own app that just runs the script and it launches whatever.
Got it.
That's very easy to do.
So it's relatively straightforward than what it sounds like. Because what's interesting about this game porting toolkit is that it's actually not really meant for this. Obviously,
So none of what I'm doing is meant. It's meant for a developer to take their existing game and say, okay, we're gonna port this natively to Mac, but here we're just brute forcing it right now. A bunch of games right now could, with very, very little effort, just say, I'm gonna activate this, send this to Steam, and it just works.
Well, it wouldn't work if you didn't have the toolkit and all the Xcode stuff installed on your computer. So the idea with this is that it is meant to be a quick and easy way for a developer to load their game up on a Mac and immediately say, oh, this just works. Okay, I can start kind of beginning the porting process. Oh, I can realize that some stuff is way off. And I know as part of this on the back end, there are a lot of tools to actually help to debug and to help kind of rewrite whatever code you need to actually get this thing running natively on a Mac, which clearly would make a big difference if instead of running through multiple layers of translation, you're actually targeting like Metal and all of the, the Metal
the new
FX
Metal
and,
3 and
all the
like
stuff that you would need to kind of really optimize it for the Mac, optimize it for ARM, that kind of thing. So it's sort of like a two-pronged kind of thing where us as enthusiasts can install this on our Macs today for as long as they let us do it.
One thing that was really, really nice is that Apple just got rid of the developer fee for all this. So like,
oh, you can just do it for free?
Yeah.
Let me wrap my head around this.
Yeah.
So, in a nutshell, with this game porting toolkit, which you can apparently freely download by downloading Xcode on your Mac, you can run a number of Windows games, not all, but a number of Windows games via their various launchers with relatively little overhead as far as setup time. Something to consider is this, right? Apple Silica has been with us for, almost 3 years now. And there's a lot of sort of talk about how powerful it was. And especially when it first came out, unbelievably fast, super, super strong. You do have to keep in mind that even with the GPU you've got, which is very high end, it's still probably not quite as high end as like a 4070 or 4080, but you've got a lot of raw performance here. But when you consider that you're losing performance going through these translation layers, obviously you have to kind of keep that in mind. That being said, with a slightly less powerful GPU than like a super high-end gaming laptop and multiple layers of translation and all the kind of crazy nonsense, the fact that you're getting games at good settings, good resolutions, and good frame rates is very impressive.
Ultra resolution. I just want to keep reiterating. I tested all this at ultra settings. When we talk about like the Steam Deck or the ROG Ally, it's like, oh, I had to lower the resolution here in order to get these frame rates and stuff.
Yeah.
No, I'm running it at max settings. And it's completely playable. I am getting equal performance on GTA 5 on ultra settings. We've been talking about MacBooks and like MacBook Air.
Yeah.
Screw all of that. Let's look at the $499 Mac Mini. Name another system for $499 that's gonna get you that kind of performance.
PS5.
Oh my God.
You cannot build a $499 PC that's gonna have anywhere near this performance.
I did. I built a $500 AMD PC, which is not massively powerful. I bet if you put it side by side with the Mac Mini, it would be in the ballpark. Mind you, way bigger. I had to build it myself.
I know we've talked a lot in the past about like, oh, like if they put like, an M1 or I guess in this case an M2 chip in like an Apple TV and then they have a console. Apple's, I think, very clearly getting serious about gaming. You don't bring Kojima in and have him part of your keynote to just be like, oh, this is like something we feel like doing for funsies.
Well, no, so
like
we did an entire video about Mac gaming on the main channel, which, mind you, this was a few months ago before all of this new stuff was out. If you look at just the games that were natively running on the MacBook, we had like the base M1 MacBook Air, and we were still getting like surprisingly decent like 1080p gaming performance. So when you look at like the potential of what a Mac can deliver, it's a bit of a no-brainer in my opinion for Apple to put at least some investment in getting gaming behind it, because look at what Apple make on the App Store with like mobile games and stuff. They make piles of money. Mind you, mobile games are mobile games, PC and console games are a different thing. I completely understand that. But Apple's a company who understand the power of unlimited piles of cash to build headsets with. And they, I think, can see the potential of, hey, the Mac is powerful enough. It is I'm not gonna say an easy thing to do, but obviously bringing Wine over and putting a little bit of sort of resources behind it to get games sort of porting over to Mac easier and being able to run on Mac easier, it seems like a no-brainer. It's lighting a fire and making the Mac a more well-rounded machine.
Here's the thing, like, there's nothing that stops a developer from just saying, oh, I'm just gonna put this on Steam and have it Mac compatible. It's not like Apple saying, oh, if you want to use this toolkit, it's got to go on it. That's just not happening. To my knowledge, it's only worked with DirectX 12 games. But like some people have gotten older games that were like DirectX 9, supposedly, but like I haven't done it myself. GTA 5 was running at DirectX 10. And so when I first launched GTA 5, it just like hard crashed, nothing worked. Second time I open it up, I get a very, very small window. And I'm watching the terminal every time I'm opening this, and I'm getting new results every time.
So is it like recompiling
That's like,
or like running through the translation differently?
To me, it seemed like it was taking like crash reports. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
like this didn't work here. Let's try something different. But like after the 5th time trying it ran flawlessly, and it has run flawlessly since doing that.
I wonder if it is sort of like recompiling some things, kind of like getting it sort of like in a somewhat usable state, and then doing the rest of the translation.
If you know what's going on, let me know in the comments.
It's cool
because
stuff,
I'm fascinated by it.
Regardless, there are multiple layers of translation that are making these Windows games running on Mac somewhat feasible. And through the power of Apple Silicon, they actually have that raw performance to kind of brute force their way through a little bit. This is really cool. And I think ultimately it's going to result in more games coming. Oh my God, here he comes. Wait, who is this? You got to tell us who it is. We know the graphic. That's correct.
I'm Rick.
What?
I'm Rick from the future. Every Apple device is using M4. Your iPhone, your iPad, your Mac. They're all using the same chip. And because of that, developers are now able to develop for every device, all 12 billion of them on the planet. So now you can natively play your Cyberpunk 2077 DLC 9 on your phone.
If you look at the Apple Silicon like iceberg, right? You've got everything from the Apple Watch chip up to the iPhone chip, up to the Mac, the iPad like M2, then you've got M2 Pro, Max, Ultra. Like these are all the same chips, just like how big they are. They're all based on that same kind of architecture. Apple are literally just scaling it from a little dual core, half-watt processor all the way up to 100+ watts.
I feel like it will trickle down a little bit.
Yeah.
So like it starts with native on Macs.
Sure.
But then it trickles down to the
ported to
iPad
Metal.
Pros.
Yeah.
There's no real reason why you couldn't just pretty easily port these to a phone or something else, or like an Apple TV.
Once you get something running on Metal and everything, I think that's sort of like the big step, is like trying to get the game ready for Apple devices, period, and then deciding which Apple devices it actually runs on. Obviously, it's not like, oh, I'll just click the button for Mac and iPhone or whatever. It's not quite that simple, but you're kind of making progress.
These are the baby steps to go to this. Where I think that Apple's ultimately going to go with gaming is, I think the vision is their vision of gaming.
The Vision Pro, maybe?
So like everything that we've talked about so far, I think is just opening up PC gaming as you know it right now to Mac. I do think that is game changing because it opens up a lot of devices for a lot of people, blah, blah, whatever. Where I think we're going to see in the, not crazy distant future, but I would still say 4 or 5 years minimum out. This is their chance to build up a little bit of reputation for gaming on a Mac when they can finally come out with a Vision headset that doesn't cost arm, leg, and 3
we got a
knuckles.
whole video about the Vision Pro coming out. Make sure to subscribe and ring a link for that.
That's when they can actually start to develop their own content that can take advantage of 3D, 2.5D, or whatever. Something that's legitimately different than what you can get on a regular PC, on an Xbox, on a PlayStation.
I got it. Endless Runner. Tim Cook is your character. He's chasing after piles of money. Easy. I'd play that all day.
That's just called WWDC. Let us know in the comments what you think about this. I'm really excited because I've been playing Diablo 4 almost exclusively on my Mac, which I'm going to go let Whoopi Goldberg know about that. And Whoopi Goldberg is really mad because she couldn't play Diablo on her Mac. So that's the whole reason that Apple did this. Like, follow, subscribe, and let us know in the comments what you think of Whoopi Goldberg.
Don't do that. Tell us about Macs, please.